Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to Unfiltered Unspoken. And today we have a life experience that has to be shared. We have LaTonya Allen today. She lost both of her parents and she was left for dead due to domestic violence from her ex-husband. We're going to bring LaTonya up. She's going to talk to us about her trauma piece and the things that she went through into her healing and what she's doing now. Welcome, LaTonya. We appreciate you coming on and being a guest on Unfiltered Unspoken.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Can you? Sorry. Okay, you go ahead, LaTonya. Sorry.
I'm is okay. Um, I'm LaTonya. I'm from Wendell, North Carolina, and I'm a survivor of domestic violence. 2014, my ex-husband brutally murdered both of my parents. I was beaten, pistol whipped, and shot in the face and the heart in front of my three children. And at this time, I had a restraining order in place, and he violated that order, taking the lives of my parents. Um, I went through much, um, the trauma, the PTSD, the aftermath of domestic violence, and the effects of it really took a toll on me, my children, my family. But I was able to rebuild my life. I was able to, get the help I need and to pick up those pieces and move forward. So now I share my story in hopes of encouraging other survivors of domestic violence and just being that voice for the ones that are still living in silence. I was married to my ex-husband for 13 years. And he was never physically abusive until I left, is when the verbal abuse started and the threats. And so now, I just share my story because it's just a miracle that I survived, my kids survived, and bringing, shining light to domestic violence and bringing awareness to it.
Well, first and foremost, I am so sorry that happened to you and your family.
Thank you.
And you don't look like nothing you have been through. Trust me when I tell you.
Thank you.
Nobody would ever know, if you did not open your mouth. So, blessings to that. But let's start at the beginning.
Mhm.
How did you two meet? I know you said that never really seen any violence or hints of abuse or anything in the buildup of you guys' relationship. So how did that start? How did you guys meet?
So we met. He lived in a neighborhood, and so a small community. Everybody knows everybody, so we kind of grew up together. But we started dating at the end of middle school, so we actually were high school sweethearts. I got pregnant at I was in the 11th grade, and we had our first son in high school, and so we eventually, we were still able to graduate from high school. I was able to attend college, and we eventually married and had two more children um, once I finished college. And so, we were best friends. He was my high school sweetheart. Like, I could talk to him about anything. He was just like a cool dude, laid back, and everybody loved him. Like, he was so likable. Um, he was the sweetest guy. And we used to have a lot of fun. And so, I mean, we were kids and we had kids, so we were kind of like growing up together and learning. But I could say we was in love, and I didn't really start seeing the signs until probably about when my daughters were getting ready to start kindergarten. So I was a stay-at-home mom for the first 5 years, and you know how that is, I had my kids back to back. And so, I was going through that postpartum and isolation and things like that. We was living off one income, and so things was a strain, but we really started drifting apart once the kids started school. And that's when I started seeing the signs of the manipulation, the control. Like I said, he was never verbally abusive during those 13 years, but the signs were there. Um, I probably had every excuse in the world, figuring that, you think you can change somebody in a relationship, you think things will get better. I just wanted to keep my family together. I was just, willing to sacrifice my happiness, my peace for, trying to thinking that keeping the family together was the best thing. And it really wasn't. And things just start spiraling out of control. We literally was like going our separate ways. He was staying out at night. The drinking increased. He was smoking weed. He was selling drugs. It just started going downhill, those last couple of years. And I had to come up with a plan to leave this man. Um, I didn't know who I was. Like, I had lost my identity. I had completely isolated myself, and he was the type of person, very controlling. He didn't want me to wear certain clothes. I couldn't cut my hair, couldn't really hang out with my friends. If I did anything, I was always, he was accusing me of cheating all the time. I mean, like all day long, like everything, was my fault. I got blamed for everything. It was literally like walking on eggshells in our household.
Wow. So so what gave you the courage to get up and finally say, I'm leaving and I can't take anymore?
I think my what gave me that courage was he had beat my son with a broom, and it was like a metal broom that had broken. He had broke it, beat him so bad, broke it into pieces, and just because he was out playing ball and wasn't at home. And that rage and that anger that I saw in him, I knew. I was like, okay, first of all, this was so out of like the punishment didn't line up with, it was just it was a different person that I saw. And me, I had to protect my kids. And so then I knew. I was like, okay, this rage, I was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. But I knew it was going to be the hardest decision that I would ever make. So, for a while, I waited because um, I wanted to make sure, that I had a good plan and that I didn't leave at the time when things were heightened. I wanted to wait until things had kind of settled down. We talked, communicated, so I could let him know, like, I'm not happy in this marriage. I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm moving out, me and the kids. And we can work together as far as co-parenting. And so that's what I did.
Now, was there a particular moment that made you obtain the order, or a particular event that made you obtain the order before the mess happened?
Right.
Was there something particular that he had done, or is this something you just knew you would need that you were leaving?
Yeah, he had communicated that he was coming over to my parents' house if I didn't come home, bring his kids back, and he was gonna hurt us. And he'd do whatever he had to do to make me come home. And he was threatening. He was calling my mother's phone, my dad's phone, was calling my phone, cursing us out, um, demanding me to bring my kids home, and I better come home. If not, he was coming over there to do what he had to do. And so we called the police, and the police said, you need to file a restraining order. Um, so that's how that, started. And so from there, once I filed the restraining order, the order was granted, but they still allow him to. They still, I was still ordered to meet him every other weekend to exchange the kids for visitations. So every time I would meet, it would be just intimidation. It would be he would block my car in, like he would do crazy stuff. I was scared of him, and really didn't know what he was capable of doing. Because he was losing control. He was losing his family. He couldn't control me any longer. He never thought I was going to leave him.
Mm-hmm.
And then my ex was like the type of guy like if I can't have you, nobody can have you.
Trauma, passion.
Yeah.
Trauma, passion. Yeah. So, did you go back to the police when he started blocking you in, intimidating you, scaring you? At some point, did they take any like custody away from him? Because sometimes they'll give you full sole custody just because of that.
So he during the time we were exchanging the kids, he started manipulating my son and using my children against me. And actually buying his love, buying him things. They started my son was confessed that they were smoking weed together. He was, wasn't in school, things like that. And so he was kind of like getting my son, on his side to where he told my son to lie to the police that my dad had slapped him or something. And so during that time, so when that happened, the police came, they took the kids, and he ended up getting a lawyer. And at the time I didn't have the funds for that, so I'm trying to fight for custody of my kids while going through this separation and divorce. And they end up like splitting the kids, so the girls had to live with me, and then my son stayed with him until they could figure out a permanent custody situation for the kids. But during that period from when I left him and the time I filed a restraining order up until that day that he took my parents' lives, it was a 3-month span. So it was a very short period of just things were just escalating. And so yeah.
Now, um, before, well, I guess leading up to the whole event and that day, um, was it unexpected? Was it something that he was threatening that day? Were there any points, times when law enforcement was not helpful to you that you called and maybe they didn't do what they were supposed to do? How did we build up to that moment? Was there a particular something that triggered him that day that made him want to go to your parents' house? Like what was that day like? The steps building up to that moment.
So I knew I couldn't call law enforcement because it would escalate. I knew he made that very clear not to call the police. But on that particular day, he kept calling my phone. And so I ignored the phone calls. I had an order in place. I just ignored it. And he was calling my phone throughout the day. He was calling my job. And so I'm like, what do he want? I would just ignore the calls. And so I went home and that's what happened. He did what he did because I didn't answer my phone that day. I was ignoring him.
So, wow. So, leading up to the episode, because we actually know each other because we were on a podcast together, and you did something like your life experience is very devastating. And I know that they because you didn't go to church, something was going to happen. The outline of when he flipped on you from not responding, Can you tell us about the incident leading up and going into what he did to you and your parents?
Yeah, so on my way home from work, like I was saying, he was calling my job. Like when I got off work, I immediately got sick. It was so weird, so strange. I mean, my stomach was hurting so bad, my body was aching to where I just wanted to go home and lay in the bed. And that's what I did. I went home, I laid in the bed, and that night was a Bible study night. And my mother, she was a pastor, and my dad's a deacon of the church. And normally I'm at church for Bible study, but she told me to stay at home and she would take the girls with her to church. So he actually went to the church. He was going to kill me at the church, and I didn't go. Me and my dad was at home. He went to our church and he sent my son in the church looking for me. My son had no idea like what was going on, and my mom told him, I wasn't there. So he waited until my mom left the church and they came home. As soon as my mom came home, he sent my son into the house, and of course it took us back. I was like, what are you doing? He was, what are you doing here? And he was like, I don't know, Dad asked me, said he wanted to come here. As soon as my son came back and spoke to me, my ex-husband came into the home and just started cursing. Somebody gonna answer the phone today. Y'all don't want to talk to me. Somebody gonna talk to me. And literally, that's what he was yelling the entire time. And then I started hearing gunshots. When I heard him, I mean, it happened so fast. Like literally, my mom came home. She didn't even have time to take her coat off, and he came in the home saying that somebody gonna talk to me today, or y'all don't want to talk to me, or y'all gonna talk to me today, and you just hear the gunshots. And all I had time to do was pick up the phone and call 911 and just lay it down and let them hear it, because I knew he was coming there to kill me, because I had been ignoring his phone calls that whole day. He shot my mom when he came in the first room to the left. My mom was in there, and my youngest daughter, my mom was like holding her back, kind of protecting her. So my youngest daughter saw her grandmother being shot, and he shot my dad in the kitchen, and they ran through the back of the yard, and he shot him multiple times. While the shooting's going on, I'm in the room on the phone with 911, but I'm trying to get the kids in the closet. Panicking, scared. I just knew I was about to die. And I get the kids in the closet, and he comes to the back of the room, and he was like, "Oh, you don't want to talk to me today? You gonna talk to me today?" Just cursed me out. And he just started punching me in my face, just beating me, kicking me, pistol whipping me in my head, my face, my shoulders, my neck, just all my upper body. And I ended up, I'm fighting, I'm begging for my life. Please don't kill me here. Just take me, just leave my kids alone. Just take me away. I didn't want my kids to see me dead. And he's beating me, and then I hear the gunshots. And I was shot in the mouth, across my face. I lost my front teeth, and he stood over me and shot me point blank range in the heart. And I was in a coma that night. I was in a coma for 7 days, fighting for my life. No signs of life, on life support. The doctors were saying that if I survived this heart surgery, I probably would be paralyzed, because that gunshot wound to my heart went, and it went down in an angle where it hit like my stomach, my kidneys, my liver, but it came back up and exited out the middle of my back, like millimeters. They said if I would have coughed, I would have died instantly. That's how close it was to my spine. So they were saying if I survived this surgery and woke up, that I probably would be paralyzed. During the beating, I had lost eyesight in one of my eyes and hearing, and but I woke up 7 days later, and I mean, literally, my family did not think I was gonna wake up. At the time, my brother was in the military. He was there helping me. He said he had just started preparing my funeral along with my parents. So he had already like started planning the arrangements because they wanted to have one big funeral. But I woke up and survived all of this and was able to leave the hospital 2 days later and attended my parents' funeral. So when I left the hospital, I left and went straight to my parents' funeral in a wheelchair, still hooked up to tubes. I busted, everything, mouth wired shut, and I was still able to attend their funeral and say goodbye. Because that's what I wanted. I wanted to say goodbye. I wanted some type of closure. And I was able to do that.
That's incredible. That's incredible. With that type of injury, it only took, that a little amount of time for you to get out. That's horrible. And the way that you explain, and it's almost like you paint a picture, and I can almost bet it's probably more vivid in your head
It's
than
a lot.
you've
Yeah.
drawn. Yeah. Now, with after still, continuing that scene, did he, do anything with the kids, after you had been injured and or went to the hospital? Like how, what happened after that point, at the house or with your children?
So when he shot me, of course, everybody thought I was dead. He opens up the closet door. He hands the phone to my son and says, "Now you can call the police." And he makes the girls get out and give him a hug. Um, and my son said he steps over my body and leaves his wallet right there next to me. He leaves, he goes home and reload the gun and waits for the police at his home. So when the police arrived, they get the kids out of the home, and they tell them who did it and everything. I wake up and gasp like, and it scared everybody because they had thought I was dead. They was walking over me. I mean, he had like it was blood they said blood everywhere. I was beaten so bad. He had stripped my clothes off, was naked, and I woke up gasping for air, and I just remember saying, "I'm hot, I'm hot, I can't breathe, I'm on fire. I can't breathe, I'm on fire." Felt like I was on fire. And then I went out again and woke up 7 days later. That night, my kids were sent to foster care because my parents would have been next of kin, and my brother was in the military at the time. So they had no idea if their grandparents had died or if I was dead, you know. And it's hard because it's so tragic. Like it's just so much. But you imagine dealing with this trauma and pain, but then you have to deal with it in the public eye, like because it was all on the news, it was everywhere, and so it was a lot, um, going through that.
Did you did you blame yourself? I mean I could only imagine what you were going through at that moment of time and still go through, or criticism, and how you're coping with that as well.
Yeah, I remember going, they wheeling me in to the view the body. The families, walk going in, and I'm first. People gasping for air. People thought I was dead. I think at one time on the news they did say I had died. And then they said I was in a coma or something. So people had no idea I was coming. My family didn't know I was coming. Um, and I just remember them opening the door and people gasping like, "Oh my God!" So they were shocked to see me. But I remember them wheeling me down that aisle and seeing my parents, both of those caskets there, and the guilt that I felt, like it was just my fault and that I did this. Not I did it, but that I felt like I had caused it or I put them in this situation, in this bad situation. But it was so bad. So it took a while, through therapy and things like that to release that guilt and put that back on him, because I felt like, wow, I brought this to their home. I brought this to, they were beautiful people. I mean, our whole, like I said, my mom was a pastor. My dad was a deacon at the church. They worked in the community. Everybody knew my parents, you know. And so it was such a huge loss. So, but yeah, just the guilt, the shame, the hurt, the everything, like taking on that weight. It took a while to release all of that.
Now, and I don't, with this question, don't mean to assume anything about your parents, anything like that. But your, I guess, willingness to, make it work, stay, keep your family together, um, was that due in part to just, wanting to have what your parents had, or with the church, you being taught, it's to definitely you part. How did, your upbringing and or, religious background maybe play a part into, staying and trying to work that out? Or, did you even think about it that way? Did it affect you that way? What was the kind of thought process behind that?
No, I didn't think about as far as being in a, Christian, being brought up the way I was brought up, raised in the church and things like that. It was more so of that I wanted to keep the family together. Like I felt like if I left, it would not, it would cause more damage on the kids, if that made sense. But they were all, but staying caused them, caused damage as well, because they remember a lot of things that I realized that I didn't even know. So kids know, they pick up things, but I stayed because I was afraid. I had been silenced for years, because when you're dealing with a person that have these narcissistic type, not saying he is, but he has all those traits and characteristics. When you're dealing with somebody like that, it shut me down emotionally, socially. Like I literally was just bound. I had no voice. It didn't matter what I said, what I did, what I tried. Everything was my fault. I was blamed for everything. I couldn't do nothing right. Um, and so living, I mean, being in a relationship to where you don't have a voice, you become numb. Literally, I was just going through the motions, crying every night. I was depressed. Um, I didn't see my way out. Like, I felt like I wasn't strong enough to leave. Like, I knew he wasn't going to just let me leave. But how do you do that? Like, how do you, somebody I was depending on them financially. You gotta leave everything, start all over. I just didn't have that strength to do it. I didn't even think about church or how I was raised or, our beliefs and values and things. No, I just was not strong enough. I literally have been feeling paralyzed. I like literally I was paralyzed by fear. And
Wow.
so, yeah, I just I had been in it so long and just really became numb and just I just didn't have that strength to do it. I didn't think I could do it.
And,
And
it,
then
and
knowing that, I knew like I got so tired, I got so drunk. I knew he was cheating on me. I knew like all this stuff, but you know how you just ignore it and things. It you just feel like you stuck. I don't know if that made sense, but I felt stuck and it was no way out. And I knew that if I had to die leaving this man, at least I tried. At least I fought. At least I spoke up. At least I told somebody. Like I tried. But I had no idea I would lose my parents. You know, I was like, you can kill me. I don't care no more because I was already numb. I ain't care. Like I didn't care. But to take my parents, it just didn't make sense to me.
heartless. Heartless.
And he knew that how much I love my parents. Like he knew how much, they supported me, they loved me, everything. And he really wanted to hurt me so bad. Like that was just his way of controlling and still manipulating. I mean, even after he got locked up, because they caught him that same night. They went to his home. It was a shootout. He was shooting at the police, but they ended up catching him. They had to get dogs. They had to get it was like a SWAT team out there because he was literally in the woods shooting at them, and they had to get dogs to find him and get him. He was arrested, but still, after all of that and being locked up, he was still manipulating and controlling me. And that night, that next day, after they caught him, um, they went in, interviewed him, and questioned him. Why did you do this? And he said that we got what we deserve. We all got what we deserve.
Wow. He's heartless. He's heartless. It sounds like there was some mental issues before this incident. They just came out, and a part of it, that's why we try to show people don't realize that they're being controlled.
Right.
But it sounds like the whole relationship was controlled,
Mm-hmm.
starting with the not working, isolating, so everything around. Once he lost that control, it seems like he went crazy.
Right.
Yeah. So how the kids, the mental damage, I know your son probably feels like he was played by his dad,
Yeah.
manipulated by his dad,
Mm-hmm.
and then the girls, everyone in the room, because I can only imagine them hearing the gunshots going close range, and
Right.
they just lost their grandparents, and potentially mom was left for dead as well. What was the mental process of what your kids went through, and how are they doing now?
Um. Oof. Thank God we had a good support system, family, friends. So many people rallied around us. So many people was praying for us. I mean, people overseas, all across the world, was praying for us. Like I said, it was in the news. People in our communities rallied around us. You know, as I was, still trying to rebuild, get better physically and mentally, emotionally. But the kids, I try to keep them, you know, um, at a consistent like type of schedule and things like that. But therapy and support and just so many people um, just came and helped us, as soon as that happened. And so, yeah, it was just the church members, the community, so many donors and to help. And the kids were just because at the time they were 7, 8, and then the girls 7 and 8, and then my son was 15. And so they were young, but it was a lot to process. And so now, as years have passed, they're able to verbalize and talk about, now I can see the effects of it. Because that, when they're young, we just, you really can't, I couldn't even hardly process like what just happened. I mean, it's like a movie. Like, if you hear the whole story, it's so much more that happened. Um, it's like a movie to us, and it's just like it still doesn't seem like it's our story, So processing it, and then going through a trial, a death penalty trial, and he wouldn't confess. He still, his way of controlling was still, he wanted me to get up there and testify, and his son had to testify. My son had to testify. He wanted to put us through all of that, and that's okay. He ended up getting 2 life sentences and 20 years attempted murder on my life, so he got life without parole. So you know, it's been a lot. The kids are doing so well now. My son, graduated from high school. He attended barber school, graduated from barber school, so he's a barber. And he has a son now. So I'm a grandmother. My grandson is 2 years old. And then my oldest daughter, she graduates this year in June. And then the baby girl, she graduates next year. So they're all doing so well. Um, I'm proud of them. I'm so proud of them.
I'm glad to hear they're thriving. I know they're gonna have their challenges. All of you will, but I'm glad everybody, at least, with sometimes with trauma, it can make you take a whole different path. So I'm
Yes.
glad they were still able to, be kids,
Yes.
finish out school, just have some type of normalcy.
Right.
But I do want to ask, just in the buildup of you guys is you and your ex's relationship. Um, did you know, just knowing from what you might have found out, getting to know his family, things like that? What was his family structure like? Did you know of any trauma that he may have went through? Just getting to know him, or anything that may just has caused him to go off the rails at that point in his life?
Yeah, he had a rough upbringing. His dad was physically abusive to his mom. And his mom, she was an alcoholic, and so it was a very growing up seeing that in the home, his mom be beaten almost every week, and but we always vowed, like we wanted better for our son. That was just like the he was like, that's why we decided to get married. Like, we wanted to raise our son together. We wanted to give him the life, a better life, than what he was raised in. So it was like so crazy that, he had dreams and goals and stuff for us, and to see it, you know, turn out like this, it baffles me, because he grew up, seeing his mom be beaten, seeing her, go through that abuse from his dad. And but he always said I would never be like my dad, and he ended up, being worse.
And I can only imagine that piece of it, that it's important to get therapy to help you heal, because
Mm-hmm.
obviously his lifestyle growing up damaged him as well. Watching his mom um, being hurt. Is his mother still in the picture? Does she have anything to say about it? Or his
She
dad?
testified on his behalf, like during the trial. Um, and she talked about the beating, the abuse and stuff that she endured and things of Nathan growing up. But she passed away a few years ago.
Wow. So is there, any of that side that, you still speak with kids, or maybe still in contact with, or just leave well enough alone?
My son keeps in contact with his grandfather, with his dad's dad. But no, we don't. I don't desire to have a relationship with any of them, or for them to contact me or reach me. Like, no. I have my reasons, but no. And the girl, the kids don't want to have a relationship or anything like that with his side of the family. Because he used his family to still control us, manipulate us while locked up in jail. You know, they would come to the kids' school, try to send messages and stuff from him from jail and stuff like that. And so I just, made a decision like, no. I tried in the beginning to kind of keep a relationship with his dad, but
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. It's that's a tough um, position to be in.
mhm.
Um,
It is, because like our families were so close. His family were members at our church. Like my mom, that was their pastor. Like his grandmother went to our church, his aunts, his aunt, all of his family. They were members at our church. So it was like we were all so close. And then for this to happen, it just, you know, I
did, did
just
did any of them check on you to make sure you were okay? Were they there for you? His family.
in the beginning, like before that trial, they would try to reach out, but no. Other than that, I put an end to that. Just trying to keep my peace, my sanity. No, because it was just so hard to trust anybody,
Yeah.
during that time. So, um,
Now, this is just, in regard to my kind of single ignorance, but what happens like to marriage at that point? Like, what was your options to divorce or, pretty much get out of the marriage? For
mhm.
one, being that he's in custody. And then, there are kids. I know they were, regardless of the order, they were still, wanted to keep custody markers in place. So, how did that work? That getting out of that marriage, and he wasn't really present for those proceedings.
So as another way of him trying to control, manipulate, he attested the divorce. Because in North Carolina, you have to be separated for a year before you can even get the divorce. So I had filed, I still, even after him being locked up and everything happening, I couldn't get my divorce finalized until the next year. And so, but he contested to it. So we had to go to court and I had to see him again. And he gets up in court and say, he doesn't believe in divorce. This was just all a misunderstanding. If y'all give me a few minutes to talk to my wife, we can get this all straightened out. I don't want a divorce. I don't, the Bible say, it's a sin to divorce. It's all this crazy stuff. And so once my attorneys, explained to the judge what he had did and what happened, he was immediate, was like, yep, divorce granted, and he told me I could just leave. So it was his way of just still controlling and being manipulative, just trying to hurt me, or just trying to see me, or, intimidate me. So yeah, he got up in court. This was a year after murdering my parents. And so yeah. But um it came to a point, I had to forgive myself, stop blaming myself, because this is something that he did. This is a choice that he made. He didn't have to make this choice.
Mhm.
So I had to learn to put all of that on him. This is something that he did, had nothing to do with me. And I knew, I decided that I had to forgive him, because I had to do that for myself in order to move forward. I had to let that go and take the power back in my life, and stop being afraid. I was able to love again and started dating again, and remarried and got married again to my husband now. And you know, I just made a conscious decision. I was like, I'm not going to allow him to keep controlling me. He's locked up for life. I survived this horrific attack and beating and shooting. I survived it, and I'm going to still live out here in this world bound and afraid of him. No, I'm free. I have a second chance at life. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to love again. I'm going to take care of my kids, take care of my family, enjoy my grandson, and be happy. It hurts. My parents would not want me out here still suffering and still stuck in what he did in 2014. They're in heaven. They wouldn't want me here, going around, going through that same cycle of just reliving that trauma. And I'm not saying that it's gone or gone away or, I'm totally healed. No, I'm not saying that. It's a day by day decisions that I have to make, to get out of bed, get up, put some clothes on, get dressed, go to work, take care of my kids, every day, I decide I'm gonna live my life. I have bad days, I have good days, but yeah, I'm here for a reason. And so that's why I do the shows like this and Unfiltered Unspoken and get on TV shows and share my story. And I'm writing my first book and I'm working on my nonprofit and I'm working and advocating for women and children and share my story in universities and the schools and in the community and so it's like I use that to help somebody else, just to encourage somebody, whether, to let them know you're not alone. Because I felt alone in that marriage. I felt like, um, I didn't feel worthy, I didn't, I settled and things like that. And just, life was just passing me by. Like I literally had gave up on life. But, I get the second chance. So I use it. I use them. I share my story. I use my story to help somebody. And I love this life now. I'm happy. I got a good husband. I love my family. I got a good support system. And I just focus on just being grateful for what I do have. And my parents' legacy will forever live on. I will never stop sharing, or talking about them and sharing my story.
Absolutely.
I love your personality. I just love how
Mhm.
humbled you are. You are so humbled. Um, you want to ask something, Sid? Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh,
go
okay.
ahead. Uh-huh.
Okay. So can you tell us, you're giving back to the community. You're also doing some wonderful work. So we want to share the trauma piece, but we also want to share the healing piece of it and the wonderful things that you're doing in the community and, giving back and some of the projects that you're working on because you also have made it to Discovery, right?
Yes.
Discovery. So it's a lot of things. So can you tell folks like um, some of your work, where to watch your bio ad on
Hmm.
TV? So yeah.
Yeah, so you can find out more about my story on a show called American Monster, and that's on the networks, the ID channel and Discovery Plus. Is that right? Yeah,
Hmm.
Discovery Plus and the ID channel. And also, I'm in the show called on a show called The Payback on TV1. And so I just wrapped up another show last week for Discovery Plus, which will air. I can't share the name, but you can um, follow me or get more information about upcoming events and things like that in the TV show on my website, which is LaTonya.com. And I'll have more information about the next show that comes out on Discovery Plus. It should air in January of 2024. And so currently writing my first memoir, my book, and working on setting up a nonprofit. And I do a lot of public speaking for a lot of our local domestic violence organizations. And by sharing my story, being a speaker there, and just shedding light on the signs, big on educating, um, especially women that look like me, and being aware of the signs, you know. And I really enjoy working with our young people because I feel like if we can educate them as early as middle school and high school, then they will be aware of those signs, of those of domestic violence, because we think sometimes it could be something little. He always calling me, checking on me, and want to know how I'm doing. And when my ex-husband was doing it to me, I thought that was cute. Like, I thought that was, the thing, and like, oh, he loved me. No, those little things like that grow, and it gets bigger and bigger, and it can be something that can be out of control. So you just want to be aware of those things. We need to educate people. Where can they get help? Where can you go? Find out where your local domestic violence organizations are, and have their information. People that are going through, that may need help, or need a safety plan to escape, things like that. But yeah, I work with a lot of different organizations. So I'm excited about starting my own domestic violence organization, and it will gear towards providing transitional housing, emergency shelters, and things like that that women may need if they're trying to escape an abuser. I want to be able to provide that safety. I want a safe haven for women and children that are trying to leave an abuser. So hopefully that's something that's coming very, very soon, and some more shows that I will be on. And I would definitely um, post all of those things on my site so you can uh, be up to date on what's going on in my life.
It's given very much booked and busy. So hopefully you got, you receive the resources that you need in order to reach your goals and set up your nonprofits and things like that. So that's awesome. I do want to ask, with all that being said, um, how long after the chain of events were you actually comfortable getting in front of cameras and telling your story, or was it more so just kind of being as though the story was sensationalized the way it was? I'm pretty sure it was kind of forced on you in a sense. Everybody wanted to interview, everybody wanted that story, but when did you start feeling comfortable coming forth, and how long was that after that day?
So it's crazy because I never thought about sharing my story. Like, I just wanted to live a normal life, like kind of just, you know, try to get back to a quiet life, but I never had an idea. Like, I never thought I would be sharing my story. But actually my husband, now he encouraged me to share my story. Um he's a writer, and he writes music, and a musician. He sings, and so he was having his first album release at the end of 2014, and he had invited me to come share my story at his album release, and that's when we met. And the very first time I shared my story, and from then on, I've been sharing it. So he, played a big part in me doing the public speaking and getting out there and telling people about, what happened, and being very vocal about it. And so that's actually how that started. So a couple of months after um going through all of that, was I able to start sharing my story.
Now y'all see that. Y'all see
Yep.
everybody watching. There's some people that it's gonna take years.
Mm-hmm.
And not to compare or
No.
contrast anybody's story, but to be honest, this is probably one of the most horrible ones I've heard.
Yeah.
And if she can do it in some months, y'all can do it. And you can see, look at her, look at the brightness in her, look at the changes she's been able, to make, the good things that have come to her from
Mm-hmm.
being open. She was a recluse and a hermit, would she have met her husband, who her current husband, would she have been able to move on? So,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, try
Yeah.
to find the good, the light in sharing those stories, and try to put the fear of it to the back. If she can do
Yeah.
it, and with such a horrific story, you know what I mean? And y'all can do it. Y'all can do it. You can share, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, on this type of platform, but be willing to, if somebody asks you something, tell the
Mm-hmm.
truth. Open up
Yeah.
how you feeling. Ask questions if you were confused at the time. Do what you need to do just to heal and not hold it in. And I just love that you're a testament to that. And you were able to do it so quickly, because there are some that it will never come out. They will never be able to share. They will never have that courage to do so. And congratulations to you for being able to
Thank
do
you.
that.
Yeah, I just found, that healing came when I spoke up. I mean, it's so much power in my voice, and I mean, think about it. I was shot in the mouth. So what the devil meant for bad got turned around. And I know that the more I speak out and speak up and not be ashamed, it's so much shame attached to domestic violence. And
Mm-hmm.
I just, I'm just a person that's, willing to just lay it all out. It is what it is. We all go through things, and it's nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to blame yourselves, because hey, we all did the best we could with the information we had at the time. And so it's nothing we can do to go back and change things, and all you can do is just move forward
Yep.
you know and so finding out, and my husband encouraged me to use my voice, to find my voice. Like, it's been so powerful and therapeutic for me. And so that's what I do. I encourage everyone. Like you said, it doesn't have to be on platforms. And I tell people all the time, like, and a part of my organization I have is called Free from Fear. And so how, we have to, break those barriers, um, come out of that shell, and push past the fear and do it afraid and do it scared. Regardless, it doesn't matter what it looks like, just be yourself. People are waiting for us to show up our true authentic self, you know. And that's what people want.
I agree. So, can you give us like three things positive to help folks that are going through a similar situation as you, to help them start the journey to heal? Some advice that'll help them.
Yeah, first thing I would like to say is you are not alone. It's so many people that are going through similar situations that you're possibly going through, and you are not alone. Like, and I think that's the first thing, is that we feel like we're by ourselves and nobody will understand or nobody will get it. And so I would say you are not alone. Is You don't have to continue living in those situations. That there is help and hope out here, to tell somebody, somebody that you trust, to just start being vocal about what's going on, and not being ashamed of it. It's nothing to be ashamed about. And so it is, there is hope. There are resources out here. There's, information. It's places you can go. It's help out here. You just have to make that first step. And then and if you know somebody that's in a situation like that, don't ever judge them. Don't ever say, girl, why she doing it? You don't know. You have no idea. because a lot of times the emotional is more heavier, stronger than the physical, like the emotional abuse and the things like that. So I would say, is to know that there's many types of abuse. Educating yourself. Because I went through financial abuse. He controlled all of the finances. I would get fussed out, yell out if I use money to get personal items, things like that. Everything was tracked, documented. I didn't know that was abuse. So educating yourself, knowing that you're not alone, that there's hope out here. And just reach out to somebody, tell somebody. If you can't write it down, just start getting it out. Don't hold on to those feelings and hold on to that pain. You gotta start letting it go. Even if you just start journaling. If that's your first step, just journal. But when you're ready, we are all here waiting to help you any kind of way. And that's men and women, because men are abused too. And they don't talk about that. But it's help out here. When you're ready, that we're all here to love on you and help you and support you.
Absolutely. Now, while I got you here on the big screen, we call this the shameless plug. So what you got going, scrolling at the bottom here, you're just gonna tell our viewers how they can, for one, contact you if necessary, where to purchase anything that you have available, merchandise, the books, what you got working on, your social media handles, just where you sell yourself and where you can get some traffic from our viewers.
Yes, so you can find out more information about me and what I'm doing on my website, which is booklatonya.com. You can email me and send messages, any booking requests, and all of that could be sent through the website. I don't think it's correct on the at the bottom, but I'll tell y'all it's booklatonya.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram under LaTonya Allen. And LaTonya Allen is a Facebook, and the Instagram is LaTonya Allen _FFF, meaning free from fear.
Okay, it started to get dark out here. I sat outside, so it's getting dark. I tried to turn some light on so I can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. LaTonya, we want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your life experience. It is powerful, and your courage and everything that you're doing. You can tell that you are touched by God. You are anointed, and if the legacy of your parents lives through you, and you could tell that they did a wonderful job
Thank you.
upbringing you. So,
Thank you so much. Thank you for
yeah,
having me.
my pleasure. Sid, do you have anything else to say, or?
I was just piggybacking off her last couple kind of nuggets there. Um, Honestly, speaking up about it, regardless of how you do it, it's normally the beginning of the end. Because personally, for me, when I've been in situations that I was embarrassed about or I didn't want to tell anybody about, once it came out, regardless of whether I told them or something happened where somebody saw something, it was like you can't make excuses no more. So people won't want to know what's up, and you can't really hide it no more. You can't lie about it. Um, at that point, things just the truth starts to unravel.
Yeah.
So to be honest, it's almost, if you're at the point where you feel like you got to fight or flight, it's the way you can spark the whole transaction. Because I used to literally feel like I would be looked at stupid or I would be dumb as hell after somebody done figured out what was going on, saw what was going on, heard what was going on, and then I go back. I got to be the one to make that explanation. He don't look crazy, I do.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it was like I didn't want to feel that embarrassment, and that's really what it took for me to get out of that situation. It literally just did, for me, not want to be embarrassed, not because I didn't want it no more, not because I didn't love them no more. I just didn't want the embarrassment. And
Right.
regardless of what gets you out, just get out.
Just
Mm-hmm.
get
That's it.
out. Just get
Yeah.
out.
Exactly, and I'm the opposite of you, LaTonya. I'm gonna piggyback off of Sid. For
Mm-hmm.
me, I was brutally beaten and stabbed 6 times, so I know the brutal
Mm-hmm.
beating you went through. Gunshot, I went through the stabbing, and to be there for someone through the financial, emotional, sexual abuse, because we're sexually abused through the process as well. I solely feel how you feel, but you went through something. I mean, both of it's traumatic, but Lord knows, my heart just goes out to you. And, being in both situations, laying there, not knowing if you're going to live to see the next day, that's exactly how I felt. I didn't know if I
Mm-hmm.
was going to live to see the next day, so this is just definitely a beautiful thing, to have survivors. And Sid, I love you, Pooh, for just
Yes.
stepping up and talking out too.
Yes.
I admire Sid for that as well, and she knows why.
Yes.
So, just sharing life experiences in a whole to help others is the mission. And it's like you don't care how you're judged because no one knows what you have endured or the pain and hurt that you have been through.
Mm-hmm.
So, I hope God has anointed you, and just continue to do what you're doing. So, yeah, I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
try to get down to North Carolina so we can definitely do.
Yes, you gotta come.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna have
I
to
got
definitely
family on
do.
both sides down there, so we good to go. We good to
Yep,
go. We can do that.
yep. We can definitely come and have like engage with something and do some work together.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
definitely, if you're open to that, I definitely.
Yes. I gotta connect you with some people, some friends.
Yes, and I have to connect you too. So yeah,
Okay.
let's definitely do that. So
Awesome.
we're at the end. God, I feel like we can go on with a part
We
two
can.
with you. So
It's good.
yeah, I mean definitely, yeah. We want to send some love out to you. Thank you for everything. If folks want to make a donation to your contribution, how can they do that?
Hmm? I
If
can't hear
folks,
you.
oh sorry, if folks want to make a donation to your
Mhm.
contribution, how would they do that?
They can send me a message through the website at
Mhm.
booklatonya.com and I can
Mhm.
send that information to them.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and close it out. Thank you so much, LaTonya. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you so much for having
Thank
me.
you.
My pleasure. So thank you for tuning into Unfiltered Unspoken, and I hope a lot of y'all have soaked in our guest tonight, LaTonya Allen. She lost both of her parents, and she was left for dead due to domestic violence of her ex-husband, who still continued to portray narcissistic behaviors even while incarcerated, and had no remorse for what he did. But to show examples of how we're showing things is he went through some mental traumas as a child watching his mom get brutally beaten by his dad. So it's very important for those, if you are going through some traumas, to seek professional help, because abusers do continue to abuse. And Latonya's testimony, she's so humbled at her heart, and we're praying for her as she continues her mission to help others. And you know remember, having kids and standing up, our kids are going through the traumas too. So if you're in a domestic situation, stop and think about your kids as well, because we traumatize the kids just as much as what we are going through. So I want to thank you for tuning into Unfiltered Unspoken. We are going to continue to share life experiences as long as Lord permits us to have this platform. So you will see us soon. LaTonya, thank you again. And we're sending so many prayers your way to continue your mission. Thank you for tuning into Unfiltered Unspoken.